Hello, my name is Chris Lehman. I'm a musician based out of the greater Boston area. Thank you for stopping by my channel. Today, I would like to take you through my favorite technique for studying and learning orchestration. I've discovered it is the best and fastest way, and also the most fun way, which I think is really important in getting you to be able to do it on a routine basis. If it's really boring, it's going to kind of feel like you're just doing schoolwork, which I don't know, at least for me, it's I don't really want that in my musical studies. So this is a way to make it fun and also learn a lot. So I'm gonna hop on over into internet browser and we're gonna talk about what I'm doing. So what I want to talk about today is Musescore. Uh, Musescore is a music notation software, and do not worry, you do not need to read music. If you don't know how, um, that's totally okay. The method I'm going to talk about today isn't necessarily about reading sheet music, but I think that it is worth your time to take to learn. If you're someone who's used to working in a DAW and you understand music even on a sort of basic level, learning how to read sheet music really won't take you that long. Definitely, if you have an interest already in orchestral music and you've been watching tutorials on YouTube, uh, taking the time to learn how to read music notation is going to be probably worth your time. But what we're going to talk about more is something that's going to, what I'm going to talk about more in depth is something we're going to be doing in our DAW. But it is through Musescore. And if you haven't heard of Musescore, it is this awesome, it's first off, the program itself is free. So you can download this software for free and start writing music in it if you want. But if you pay what I believe is $70 a year, you get access to Musescore Pro. And what Musescore Pro allows you to do is it is a giant community of people who are interested in music. And so people will create all of these recreations of scores that you know and love. So there's all sorts of classical scores, all sorts of film scores that are available on the website if you have paid for the Pro edition. And what this allows you to do, if I hop on over to Chrome, is this is the website, musescore.com. I have a tendency to say Musescore instead of Musescore. Anyways, but what this allows you to do is we can go over to our browse here, and you'll see there's all sorts of scores that have been uploaded. And so lots of scores in the public domain, for instance, are going to be here. If we go over to our symphony orchestra, we can see Tchaikovsky here, for example. And we can click on this, and what we can do is you can listen to it. Now, the sounds that the playback on the website is not that great. If you download the most recent version of Musescore, Musescore 4, the sounds are awesome. They're way better. It sounds sort of like a decent middle of the road like sample library. Like they're pretty darn good. So for $70 a year, you get access to this website, thousands and thousands and thousands of scores, and then you get to study them. And the way I like to study them is to go over to download, and I'll just download the Musescore version. And what this allows me to do, if I go to my downloads, is just to open it, and I can open it in Musescore in the app here, and then I can play around with it. We'll give this a second to load. And so now I can click on the notes and see which note is what. I can look at the orchestration in the sheet music. And so this is really cool. And the playback's pretty darn good. It's a little laggy and sometimes a little clicky, and the application still crashes too often. It's a little annoying. But Musescore 4 is very new. It's a big overhaul compared to what it was. The sounds used to be pretty so it was a pretty big update very recently, so I'm expecting it to get better. But for what it is and for the price it comes in at compared to other music notation softwares, I think it's really an awesome service. And if you are financially able, I think is something that if you're really invested in learning about orchestral music, this is going to be worth your money. So you can download just infinite number of these and study them, play back, change notes here and there. And you can learn a lot about orchestration in this way. But my favorite thing to do, because it allows you to really learn about the orchestration, but also simultaneously to learn about programming in your DAW, is let's say you're interested in film music, and let me just one that I know is on here that's going to be a famous film score is Portals, from Endgame. So we can go over here, we can download it, and then open this in Musescore. And now you'll see, obviously, this is a pretty darn big score compared to compared to something out of classical music. A lot more instrument families going on. But so you can use the playback function here and study it this way, like I was just talking about. And that's awesome. And I think that there's a lot of value, and I think it would be another video to talk about the value that comes in writing out your scores, to get your orchestration down in a music notation program. It's really helpful for, I think, getting good orchestration in many situations. But what I want to talk about here is my favorite way of learning and studying the orchestration here. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to export this, and we're not going to do a PDF. We can export it to MIDI. And that's what's so damn cool is all of this, you get access to not just it in music notation, but to the MIDI. So if I export this, and we can save it to my downloads, that's fine. Now I can quit Musescore. I'm not going to save this. I'm not going to save. And now let's say I open Ableton. And obviously you can open whatever DAW you use. Figure that's pretty self-explanatory, but just in case you were wondering. So then what I'll do is I'm going to need two hands for this. Let's see. Go to my downloads, and we can drag this MIDI into our DAW. And yes, we want to insert the tempo and the time signature changes. And so now we've got all laid out in front of us. The MIDI for film cues that we love, or classical scores that we love, and we can study what we love, what we already know exists. We can reference this to the original. So what this allows us to do is, on the one hand, we get to do things like highlight all of our I don't know why the altos here are above the violins. Sometimes it's a little wonky, and so you sort of need to be able to use your brain and figure some stuff out. But like, for instance, here we've got our string section, and we can go into the piano roll and look at what's going on. And if you color code things in your DAW so you can see which is the cello line, which is the viola line, which is the violin line, you can really see the spacing. You can study what's going on harmonically, figure out which keys you're working in, because you've got the back over in the music notation software, back in Musescore, you've got your key signatures. You can learn so much, and you can learn almost everything that there is about writing for the orchestra, in a way that if you're new to all of this can be really, really, really intimidating. And so I think that there's a lot to learn doing it this way. And because we have the originals to compare it to, what this allows you to do is, on top of it, if you want to take the time to drag in the sample libraries you own, you can program them with your dynamics and your expression and your vibrato and all those sorts of things. You can add reverb, you can add compression and EQ to try and get it to sound close-ish to the actual cue. And so this is really going to improve your mixing, your programming, and your knowledge of theory and orchestration. And I think it's the best of a bajillion different worlds. And it's really, 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 really fun. because you're sort of, while you're doing this, you're recreating a score that you know and love. Now, not every cue that you want is going to be on Musescore. There are some restrictions, and a lot of it comes down to just like what people take the time to do and upload there. But if you're a beginner and you're just interested in learning, like, one, you're going to discover a lot of new cool music, and two, you're going to be able to just spend hours and hours and hours studying this stuff, recreating it in a way that's really fun. And yeah, I'm not going to take the time to program any of it right now, but I think that this is a good, fast way to study orchestration, and it's something that I wish I'd known about in the beginning, because I was trying to do it just in my DAW, just through YouTube videos. And YouTube videos are great, but actually taking time to study scores and finding ways to study scores in an effective way is really going to improve your orchestral writing. So if you have any questions about Musescore, please feel free to leave them down in the comments, or just about studying in general. If you have any tips and tricks for how you study, any of those kinds of things, please do let me know down in the comments. For now, I'm just going to leave it there. I just wanted to show this technique that I use, and I will catch you on the next one. Take care.